Hey gang, it is Wednesday. I am broadcasting to you from beautiful Sundance, Utah. Actually managed to squeeze away some time for a little bit of a vacation. Welcome to Dentists in the Know. This is your backstage pass for current trends, politics, and education in the dental world. It is live. It is over a cocktail or your favorite glass of wine or maybe a brew. And it is brought to you from the three of us. These are my cohorts, Dr. Chad Duplantis to my left. Below me, Dr. Jennifer Bell. We are all practicing dentists. We are all educators, and we are all business owners. Our job is to bring all of you in the know. So let me just tell you, for those of you who are just tuning in and you don't know who our guest is tonight, Tarun Agarwal is on. You may know him as T-Bone. I know every single one of you out there have heard his name. He's one of the biggest names in education. He is just a dynamic speaker, a dynamic educator. He is the owner of 3ddentist.com. He is just one of these guys that has really made his mark in dentistry and really has had an incredible impact on dentistry. So we're going to be talking with T-Bone tonight, getting some of his perspectives, and just really excited for that. But before that, I think Jennifer might have a little bit of news.
I have a few things. One was
Do you?
Pearl, and I thought that was interesting. So
That
that's
is very interesting.
opening the door a little bit on AI interpretation and how we might start to see that in our practice reading radiographs. So I think that's pretty fascinating. The CDC actually just released today, maybe yesterday, new opioid guidelines. These are not mandates. They are just guidelines for prescribing opioid medications for the 18 and over. And of course, it comes with caveats that you wouldn't use these same guidelines when you're doing end of life management, chronic pain, cancer patients, and those types of things. So surgical outcomes, that type of stuff. So that is categorized. I will post that for everybody to review. I read a statistic on the show. It's probably even 6 or 8 months ago about the precipitous drop of the number of opioid prescriptions that have been written from dentists over the last 24 months since we put some of these awareness campaigns and requirements into place. So I do think a good majority of the simple infrastructure of just checking patients' history and having access to it, because frankly, it wasn't that I didn't want to check it. It was that I had no ability to do that for, a good portion of the early part of my career. Now you can check the database to see if this is a chronic opioid user or not. So there's some good things that I think came of that. Dentists were painted in a very ugly light during the opioid crisis. And we were blamed for a lot of the addictions that were being seen. Not sure that was really a fair assessment, be that as it may. The dentists as a collective profession have been also incredibly responsive to that, and probably faster than any other area of medicine. And so, I think it's worth acknowledging that we recognized an issue and responded, but also that there's new guidelines that are going to continue to evolve. So I'll post that for you. I know we talked about today, there was a post about HRSA relief coming up. That's due at the end of the month. Chad posted some resources. So if you want to have access to that, they're available to you. But in addition, there's another pot of money available. So if you are still a practice that's struggling, and I've had a few folks reach out to me, if your practice is still struggling to come back from COVID, or you're in an area where mandates have been a little bit more restrictive, there is additional money that's been approved to be released out. So if you want to take a peek at that. The ADA and 61 other organizations pushed today for increased regulation of nicotine synthetic products. So most of that is vaping products, frankly. So I think it's coming to light some of the oral risks that are coming from those particular products. And a lot of other organizations, not just dental, all kind of came together to encourage and push the FDA to really look at these products and provide more parameters around them, maybe more similar to what we see with cigarettes.
JB, why do you think that took so long?
I don't know, because there was so much about pulmonary issues that came out pretty quick.
Early, right? Really, really early. I mean, at least to put a warning up, or or some kind of PSA from from the health professions to say, look, we don't have all the data in yet. This is a fairly new product, but right now what we're seeing is warning, Will Robinson.
That's right.
Danger.
That's right. I don't know. I mean, how long did they know cigarettes weren't good for them before they actually went out and did something? The wheels of government, they are very slow.
Real MDs smoke Camels.
Recent statistics as of February, 75% of the hygiene profession is vaccinated and close to 5% have left the workforce altogether. The ADA did publish this week an updated indoor mask guideline. If you'd like to take a peek at that, if you need some additional advice, I've seen a few folks posting. I think some of this has trickled out, but a few folks have posted, whether or not they have to follow oral health, like healthcare recommendations for mask mandates, or do they follow their local municipality? So the ADA put some additional guidance out there for us if you are in need of that. All right, guys, right. I want to introduce our guest because he's chomping at
the
comment section, and I'm really excited to have him here. So usually when I introduce guests, I mean, we could read his bio, although what he provided for us was very short. You know him as the 3D dentist T-Bone. He's been a huge advocate of digital integrative workflow for a really long time. I've been fortunate to take some of his courses. I have a really funny story about the one I took most recently. It's been in the last probably 6-8 years. What I love the most about him, one, is that he's in my neck of the woods, and we integrate with the same reps and the same specialists, and we have some of the same friends. But what has continued to impress me is his drive and desire to want to reinvent the wheel, to find new ways for dentists to have opportunities to grow and be really good in their profession and be happy doing what we do. And we all know that, showing up every day to be a dentist can be really challenging. And I think it takes folks like Tarun who are empowering dentists to find joy and to find chemistry within their environments to make it successful. And he's touched, and I can't even begin to imagine how many lives he's touched. He can quantify it probably in one statistic, but I bet he doesn't actually know how far his little ripple effect has really gone. Yes, Tarun, it's true. So Tarun, I'm going to tell you this funny story. So
welcome, rock star on the show.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So when I got my first CIRAC in 2015, Tarun and I both have the same Patterson rep. Well, I don't know if he's your only rep, but he calls.
This is my only Patterson rep, yeah.
Chuck. So Chuck sells me this CIRAC thing, and he's like, "You've got to take Tarun's course on implant placement, like immediate implant placement." I was like, "Okay, well that sounds, pretty reasonable." So I had probably owned the CIRAC machine 10 days at the most. We hadn't actually, I know you can blame Chuck for this, had not actually done hadn't even gone through our onboarding, nothing. So I come to Tarun's course. It's phenomenal. We go to the hands-on portion where we're going to design an implant crown on an immediate placement implant. I don't even know how to select the tooth number to start the process of even beginning to tell the computer what to do. And I thought, you must think I'm such a dumbass. Like, I don't even know where the power button is on this dumb thing. I've only had the CIRAC for a solid 10 minutes, but I did learn a tremendous amount. It just was, I might have been a little early in the game, a little premature.
I don't think you should talk about premature with 3 guys on here.
Valid. It's valid.
Yeah.
This is why I can hang out with him all day long, because he'll say it before I do.
Jeff, are you by a piano?
I'm not. Oh, do you hear it?
Yes. I was trying to figure out where that noise is coming from.
No, okay. I will lower it. The cabin that we rented, we came in here and we can't figure out how to shut this off.
Yeah,
is it your girlfriend or your wife playing piano?
True. Yeah. That's a valid question. Is that your girlfriend or your wife playing the piano?
Yeah, it is neither. It is neither. Not that. I'm not just gonna dig myself.
Okay, so JB, I'm sorry. Ask your question again. I'm just trying to get Jeff's music silenced.
Oh no,
yeah, we're trying.
One of the things I would really love, Tarun, tonight, if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about, is the latest education center that you've opened, because I think for me, it seems like such a win for dentists to have not only the educational piece during the day, but every meeting I've ever been to where it had the fellowship component after hours, where you had an opportunity to interact with the speakers, the vendors, other attendees in a very safe environment where they could be really open and vulnerable, was a win. So how's that playing out in reality?
Yeah, look, I was very skeptical myself that buying the retreat would be a good idea. I had a lot of fear of doing it. My wife forced me to do it. I think she got tired of people staying at our house. So she forced us to do it. And we were in the middle of a pandemic when we bought it. There's all that. But I knew from my experience at what was called a Smillennium that Ivoclar hosted. I went back in 2004, 2005, and we all stayed. There were 16 of us that stayed in like a 4-pod. It was like 4-bedroom townhouses that with 4 of them connected together, and we stayed up playing cards and hanging out. And I couldn't tell you one thing that Ivoclar kind of pitched to us or educated us on during the day, but I could tell you everything that I learned and got influenced by in the evening at night, being surrounded by people that were well far ahead of me in my career at the time. So I knew that I was impacted by that, and I've always wanted to recreate something along those lines. So we sold one of our beach houses and we needed to do a 1031 exchange. So my wife's in charge of real estate. Every piece of real estate I bought has lost money. Everything she's bought has made money. So I just let her do that, along with other things that she does. But so we bought it, and it's been great. It's 10 acres. It's in Wake Forest, North Carolina, literally just north of Raleigh, a few minutes. And we have a 45 person training center with hands-on workstations, and we have the ability to sleep 18 people on site, which is fantastic. And honestly, my goal at some point is to get to where I show up in the morning time, say hello to everybody, and then I come back in the evening and really just hang out with people in the evening time around the fire, or having a small drink, or cooking food, or whatever it may be.
A small drink?
Yeah, I'm not a big drinker, so I'll have.
How did he get on this show?
I do drink water. So.
Yeah, there you go. Good. So
it's worked out great. It's been quite interesting and amazing. The dentists that come are deeply engaged, and they're pining for that word. I wrote that word fellowship down. I mean, it reminds me of those church lock-ins that I used to get dragged to growing up. But I kind of call it like summer camp for dentists. We're just nerding out. We're just dying to be around individuals that are just like us, because too often we're surrounded by local society people who are having a contest of one-upsmanship, and and they're like living in 1990s, and everybody's walking around with gray hair and balding, and like a jacket with 8,000 little pins on it. Nothing that represents what dentistry or what the dental professional is today. So they're just looking for a place to be around people like themselves.
So how many courses have you held there at this retreat?
So we're 1 year in, so we've probably done like 20 to 25 courses.
Wow, yeah, that is crazy.
we do about 30 to 35 courses a year. It's almost every weekend. And so yeah, it's a real business. A lot of people do education on the side. I mean, technically it's my side business. I still practice 3 days a week, but I do education about 30 to 35 weekends a year. So it's a lot. I enjoy it. I mean, clearly I have to enjoy it. And then I don't know if you guys saw last week we opened our nonprofit dental office called Smile 3D. So that's another big endeavor I have as well, is to provide great dentistry for the working class. You know, I hate saying less fortunate because typically less fortunate are people that are truly don't have anything, and I think we're missing an entire segment of the population of people that quite honestly work their asses off and
Mhm.
can't afford a single tooth implant can
Yeah.
be four to $5,000. And you know, my mom was a teacher and she made $22,000 a year. She couldn't afford $4,000 to $5,000
Sure.
to have a front tooth replaced or a back tooth replaced. So I want to leverage the relationships I've had, the education that we provide, and at the same time help the working class people get dentistry they probably couldn't afford. And frankly speaking, and this is me being very biased, so I apologize if I say anything inappropriate, but too often we say when we do charity dentistry, it's okay. We can just take out teeth, or we can do large fillings, or we can do slightly substandard dentistry than what we would try to do in our practice. And I don't think it should be that way. I think it should be all digital. It should be the highest quality materials with the best workmanship and the best care we can provide. It's not always the best outcomes, but with a good heart. So that's our goal at our nonprofit dental office.
I
That
love that,
that is
Tarun.
phenomenal, man.
Mm.
That's amazing, and I think that more people need to give back like that because I do agree with you. If we go to charity stuff, what's the purpose of going and doing like 3 or 4 amalgams and extracting a few teeth? I mean, I can't stand it when we go somewhere and they're like, "Hey, doc, we appreciate you being here, but all we do here is extract teeth. If they need something else, they need to go somewhere else. Or if they need
Right.
anything other, you're
Yeah.
putting an amalgam on number 8. That's all there is to it. We don't have to even have composite. If we do, it's expired. So I commend you for that. How
So
many faculty do you have in 3D
Yeah.
dentists?
So I don't know the exact number. I mean, it's probably 6, 7, 8. There's me, Sully, Aaron, um, Matt Standridge, Brian McGue, Jock Jernigan, Rick Sullivan. And I'm missing a few. I know there's 7 or 8 of us that teach our programs. It's not just me. I'd like to be the least important person in our organization, frankly speaking. And we teach a wide range of subjects. My area is really around kind of simplifying the business part of dentistry, kind of control. Look, it's your name on the door, so or it's your name on your license. You should control what you do. I'm a firm believer in that. That's why I went into dentistry, is for the autonomy it affords. And then, then I want everybody else to teach all the other subjects that we provide. I want to focus on the things I enjoy, and where I think I can be of help to dentists. And
so
then we have
T-Bone,
we have a
yeah.
team of like almost 15 to 20 mentors that come and help us with our live patient programs. It's a decent sized organization.
So
That's awesome.
T-Bone, I've got a question for you
Mhm.
because I mean, obviously, you've been in education for a long time. You've taught on a lot of these subjects, but for the people who may not be as familiar with your platform, what was the impetus? Like,
Mhm.
what was it that made you say, okay, this is what I want to have. I want to call it 3D dentists.
Yeah.
Just give us some of the background on that and what you felt like dentists were needing.
Well, it's probably a roundabout. I don't know if I have a direct answer to that, but look, I'm not the smartest person. I'm a pretty simple person. I try not to complicate things. And what I've always seen is that my practice and my skill set have always grown around technology. And as I've added technology and leveraged technology and utilize it, I've seen myself be able to tackle more and more. I call technology the great democratizer because it democratizes dentistry. Look, when I graduated dental school in 1999, general dentists did crown and bridge and and took out a few teeth here and there. We didn't really do root canals, only if it had one canal in the front. We didn't do any type of orthodontics because we didn't know how to bend wire. We certainly didn't do any type of extraction grafting. We certainly didn't do any type of implants. And if you look at all of those procedures, they've all been driven down to the general dentist because of technology. And so I've always been a big fan of technology. I never, although I've been very closely associated with very specific brands of technology, I don't want to be associated with any specific one particular product within the technology realm. So that's kind of where 3D came about, is because we're doing 3D, and quite frankly, a deeper meaning of 3D is because I want people to have successful businesses. I want them to do well financially. I want them to do well clinically. And at the end of the day, we work financially and do good work so that we can have a good family life. So the three dimensions of dentistry are also the economics, the clinical excellence, and our family balance. So that's kind of the other underlying meaning of the 3D component to it.
I believe you had a direct answer to that.
Yeah, that was a very
Really
direct answer. I mean, it could not have been
fantastic
better. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has what their passion is in dentistry, and I think that's kind of what makes you who you are, is kind of that passion that comes from the things that have been important to you in practice, and other people see that as really valuable. So don't be embarrassed to share that, brother, because I mean, honestly, we all do this to make a living and to have that good, that life work balance.
Yeah, I don't know if the word balance has ever existed in my life.
Me too.
So I think of it more of a seesaw.
Yeah.
And there'll be times where I'm very focused on work and it kind of gets out of line, and then there'll be where I get reeled back into family and it gets out of line in the sense that I miss what I do. And so really it's just to me, the balance isn't finding a way to make things level. It's just finding a way to make sure I get into both realms of my life as often as possible. So I haven't found a way to do balance in the way that most of us think of it. It's very much a seesaw for me.
Tarun, when you've, for me and my career, you've always been someone who's on cutting edge, not bleeding edge, but cutting edge of new technologies and things that are coming out. The rate at which technology is evolving is almost too difficult now for the average dentist to keep up. And so, as someone who wants to go back to practice tomorrow, who's trying to compartmentalize and figure out, number one, what can I invest in that will give me the best ROI? What makes sense for me and where I am? And then, just like the CEREC machine became obsolete within 15 minutes of purchasing, these
I know
things
what you
are
mean.
constantly changing. So, what are some pearls or pieces of advice that you could provide to clinicians to help guide the decision-making process and all that?
Yeah, a couple of things. I'll answer that with two things. First is the most important piece of technology I have is the least expensive piece of technology I have in my life, in my dental life at least, and that's a digital camera. From 1999 until now, it's the most important thing I use in my practice. It's more important than digital impression, more important than CBCT, more important than any number of things, 3D printing, all those things. The truth is none of those things get utilized if we don't have a way of showing our patients what we're seeing. So to me, the simple and most important thing you've got to implement in your practice in a very deep way is digital photography. Now, when I speak to digital photography, I'm really not talking about Insta famous or fake book digital photography. I'm really just talking about even as something as simple as taking your phone out and just taking some pictures of teeth and showing it to your patient and just saying, this is what I see. I'm concerned about this. What do you want to do? And you'll be so amazed at what your patients say to that. Now, so to me, I want to make sure that effective technology doesn't have to be expensive. The second part of that is I think too often we get stuck on goal setting, and really what I'd like to rename it is we get stuck on destination setting, and we try to set a destination of where we want to get to, and we don't focus on the process. and the why of
Mhm.
what we're really trying to accomplish. And I think it really, what technology fits really, at the end of the day, it's almost always the same things, but really it's got to be around what you want to do.
Yeah.
If you want to see more patients and do faster dentistry, then there's a certain technology and techniques within that technology that you need to do. If your goal is to do implant dentistry, and do it at the highest level possible with the most technology possible, then CBCT and digital impressions are the answer. If your goal is, hey, I don't want to see my patients but once, then you need to look at chairside milling as the option. And really, you know, and I lived in this world where digital impressions meant chairside milling. And I'll tell you, for my part of the practice, and I'd love to get into talking about a practice versus a business, but my practice, which is within the business of our building, I don't do chairside milling hardly at all anymore. It's being done extensively in our practice, but I personally don't see the benefit of chairside milling for what I'm doing in my practice. I see a lot of benefit in printing in my part of the practice, but not as much in chairside milling. Now, my associate partners would see the exact opposite.
Mhm.
They would see tremendous benefit in chairside milling and hardly any benefit in 3D printing from their perspective. So, really, it's got to be about what you're trying to accomplish. And nobody spends enough time getting clear about who they are, what they're trying to become, and what they want to be known for.
It's I love how you said that, we don't focus on the why, and we need to focus on the why. And I think it's just so important. That's something that I really, really preach. And I love your approach, and I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, a digital camera, I mean, iPhone, intraoral camera, extraoral camera, whatever you have, you've got to take pictures. You can share disease and you can also share health, and they're both meaningful to a patient when you're sharing those images. And I think there's so much power in photography. Um,
Walter Haley used to talk about just giving a patient a mirror and using an explorer
yep,
to point out what you thought. So, I mean, you don't even need a camera at the end of the day. All you need is a mirror. And too often we're just not giving our patients a chance to see what
Mhm.
we see. And really that is what it boils down to, is how can we let our patients see what we see? And the camera is the easiest, don't get me wrong, because they
absolutely.
can they can take it home, they can put it on their fridge, you can resend it to by email, you can utilize it to market your practice. You can utilize it to market your speaking career. There's so much you can do with a single picture. Um, I don't understand why more dentists don't double down on photography in their practice.
I mean,
Yeah.
especially now with the price of these intraoral cameras that you can buy off of Amazon that are basically
Yeah.
disposable. I
Yeah.
mean, go for it, you know?
Well, look, I have a very biased view. I don't think intraoral cameras serve a purpose in dentistry anymore. I think we should be using extraoral cameras. Show a patient one tooth, you're going to do single tooth dentistry. Show a patient a quadrant, you'll do quadrant tooth dentistry. Show a patient an arch, you'll do arch dentistry. Show a patient all their teeth, you'll do all their teeth dentistry. And the challenge with intraoral cameras, while they're easy to use and they do a nice job, is they show single tooth dentistry. And my model is very much based on not doing single tooth dentistry unless that's what all the patient needs or that's all the patient can afford.
Mhm.
T-Bone, you are speaking my language now.
Mhm.
So, I mean, now you are speaking to my heart. And this is why I even say the CBCT in a full field of view. Now you're doing whole body
Yep.
dentistry, right?
Yeah.
Not just even arch dentistry. It goes, we have to take it beyond that problem fix it. We got to get to the whole body approach.
Absolutely. And, and
Yeah.
and part of that is a communication skill that I think we don't spend enough time on, that we get very uncomfortable with, because it's hard learning to talk to people. And while I come across as being good at it or very comfortable with it, I wasn't this way 22 years ago. I was just like everybody else. I mean, I didn't know how to talk to people. I got very technical. I thought consent was walking patients through, literally, I'm going to take a 557 burr and I'm going to burr out this amalgam. I'm going to visualize the cracks. I mean, it's like going into that verbal diarrhea with patients. But I want to back up for a second on intraoral cameras. I don't think I want to restate my statement. 1990s intraoral cameras are useless. In 2022, the intraoral camera of 2022 is a digital impression machine.
Of
And
course.
so for those of us that have been around enough, we know that intraoral cameras used to cost $20,000 to $25,000, and they rolled around on a cart, and that's eerily similar to a digital impression machine. So look, I know it costs money, and I know you can't go from zero to hero, but we've made the commitment in our practice that every operatory will have a digital impression system in it, along with the extraoral camera, and the results that we're seeing are pretty staggering. Again, assuming everybody uses the technology to show the patients.
So you had brought up before, and you want to dive a little
Mhm.
bit deeper into the difference between running a business and running a practice.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of dentists, including myself, struggle with that nuance of, one, what piece of the puzzle do we as the widget makers play in the manufacturing of the business? And then how do you transition that into a full business? And so
Yeah.
I think that's a valuable piece of information to
Yeah.
discuss.
Well, I'd love to talk about it. And so I want to be very simplistic about a 30,000-foot view, and then we can dive in deeper as we want. And and again, listen, I went into dentistry because dentistry means different things to everybody, and it's why I love our profession. We are an entrepreneur, we're a healthcare provider, we have a job that creates capital for us to do other things if that's what we choose. So my way is not the way; it's just a way of doing
Mhm.
things. But I think from a 30,000-foot view, I differentiate a practice and a business between, if I were to leave the office, would I not make any money? And that to me is the main differentiator between a practice and a business. A business runs without the owner there. Whether it makes money, at least it doesn't lose money. It loses less money. And most solo practitioners don't own a business; they own a job. And to me, that is the main difference. I didn't become a business until 2013, 2014, when I hired additional providers within the practice. So or for the practice. So from a big picture view, to me, the difference between a practice and a business is going to be the ability that I can leave for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 1 week, and things don't shut down. Things continue to move, maybe not as well, or maybe even better when I'm not there. So that to me is the definition of a business. Number one. Number two is, I think, I want to use the example of Best Buy here, a modern day Best Buy. When you walk into Best Buy, they have different departments, and it used to be segmented by all TVs, all dishwashers and stuff like that. I haven't been inside a Best Buy lately. I go into the parking spot and have them dropped
Yeah.
into my trunk. But the modern day Best Buy has been broken down to where you go all the Amazon section, or all the Google product section, or all the Apple section. It's a store within a store. And that's really how we've kind of broken our practice down, is that we have multiple stores within a store. And I know some of the older gray-haired dentists with all the ribbons on their chest are going to be like, that's what's wrong with dentistry. We refer to it as a store. And no offense, most of us are in shopping centers today, or would like to be in shopping centers today. So we have to recognize that dentistry has changed from the 1990s model that I'm a product of. But we run a store within a store, and for us, we have a hygiene store. We have what I call, lovingly called meatball dentistry store. We have an implant dentistry store. We have a sleep apnea dentistry store. We have an orthodontic dentistry store. We have we have different stores within our practice, and each store has a specialist in a sense. And I use that word specialist very, very carefully within dentistry, but if you go to the Google store within Best Buy, they have a Google specialist, that person that knows the Google products in and out. And in our practice, we try to establish what we call champions, because you can't use the word specialist so
Mhm.
easily. We call champions people that know that particular product in and out. For example, Liz is our sleep apnea champion in our practice. I mean, she does probably more sleep apnea devices than most people in the state, quite frankly. Megan runs our what I call our sales department or our concierge department. And that's all the patients that come in to see me that are looking for or have a need for complex care. Whitney runs our implant department because she runs all the clinical side of all the implants. She's in charge of making sure we have the products, making sure it gets printed, making sure it goes to the lab and comes from the lab, making sure and understanding the difference in the healing abutments and scan posts and digital scan posts. And dentistry, do you guys agree dentistry has become unbelievably complicated today?
Oh,
You
it's
know,
complex.
gone are the days where it was like, do I use dispersalloy or some other kind of long chain amalgam, a short chain amalgam?
Yeah.
Remember there used to be like a pink amalgam and a blue amalgam that set at different times.
Yep.
Tarun, is there another business on the face of the earth where one provider provides so many services with so many materials? And so I love this messaging because it took me a long time to kind of figure this out, that where I would always try to make my team adapt to what I was doing. Okay, now we're doing a lot of sleep apnea appliances. Now we're doing a lot of orthodontics. So I want you to adapt to this. I want you to adapt to this. I want you to learn this. No, we need to bring a champion in for each of those areas. So I love your messaging on this.
Yeah, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to share a quick slide here
Yeah.
that
Absolutely.
Please, go right ahead.
kind of shares this, and I don't want my message to be lost here. I'm still a big believer in general dentistry. Look, what I learned in 2008, 2009 is that a healthy general dentistry base provides you recession-proof living for a long time. Now, look, I'm living where pretty much all I do, 80% of what I do time-wise, and certainly economically in the practice, is implant dentistry for myself. And I like to think of that more on the emotional and advanced end within this slide. But what I do know is if we hit a massive recession or something like that, I could always go back to doing traditional general dentistry. But along the way, what I haven't done is given away that general dentistry in the sense that I haven't let those patients leave the office. And that's where becoming a business is important. So as I've dived in more and more into the implant side of it, it's kind of a catch-22. I can't dive in deeper if all I'm doing is doing fillings and crowns all the time, because those things, the time sucks. And they're, more importantly, the mental bandwidth sucks. But at the same time, I'm afraid or have a fear of going all in on implants, because if we have another 2009, that discretionary spending is kind of the first thing that will go away. So I'm a big believer that you got to build a firm and very nice foundational base of general dentistry. And then as the senior owner or the more clinically apt or communication apt dentist, then you've earned the right to pick and choose the type of dentistry you want to do from with that general dentistry base. And then becoming a business is about adding providers, or in states where you have FDAs or dental therapists, whatever the hell things that they're coming up with these days, none of which I'm against, by the way. Then we have to expand our business. And what I've found, and it's amazing to me, is that the more the general dentistry I've given away, the more I've been able to fill my schedule with things I enjoy to do. And it's amazing. All that dentistry is within our practice, or we have a little bit of time to go market outside of our practice and attract that type of dentistry. And there is no shortage of patients that are looking for the work that we want to do.
That's awesome, man. Kudos to you. And I love your passion for what you're doing. I love the graphic that you just shared. Thank you very much.
One last thing on this one, because I have all kinds of shit I want to talk about. Excuse my language. You guys can Facebook or whatever. They can bleep it out. There's an important thing. There's a lightning bolt in here, and there's this dotted line. And Paul Homley calls it left-sided dentistry and right-sided dentistry. And one day I'm going to have the nerve to name this dotted line the Homley wall. But because I've learned so much from him. Too many of us, we get stuck at this intersection between general dentistry and what I call advanced dentistry. And typically that intersection's in the $2,000, $3,000 ballpark. And well, maybe even a little bit less actually, maybe in the $1,500 to $2,500 ballpark. And what happens is the buying process, or how people buy on the left side of this dotted line, is very insurance driven.
Mhm.
And how people buy on the right side of the line is very emotionally driven. And it's not logical at that point. We don't spend enough time understanding what it takes for somebody to buy $50,000 worth of dentistry, or $30,000 worth of dentistry, or even $5,000 worth of dentistry. And really, it's a different level of skill set, a different level of leadership of your patients, of your team, of yourself, that really allow us to really move into this realm of dentistry. Now, don't get me wrong, we get lucky and we can do one or two of these things, of these types of right-sided cases each month, but to build a part of your business, to build a store within your practice on that type of dentistry, does take a real focus on a patient buying process. And most of us call it a case acceptance process, but I really like to refer to it as a patient buying process, because it starts from what people think they know you as. That's your social media presence, what I call personal branding. If we go back to here on the right side of it, I call it personal branding. And that's why it's a buying process versus a case acceptance process to me. From the phone call to how you talk to them, how you greet them, how you plant seeds for them, to the photographs you take, the technology you take, to how you make it affordable for them, and how you prioritize the time to get them into your office. All of those things are critically important to really move to the right side of that dotted line.
May I dig in just a
Yeah,
hair?
you dig. Please dig in. Please,
Okay.
please dig in.
So as you're building this practice and you have
Mhm.
these associates and they're operating in their individual stores, and you as the left side of the line, right
Right
side
side
of
of
the
the
line,
line.
whichever way
Right
you're
side of the
looking
line.
at,
Yeah.
right side, you want to do more complex cases.
Mhm.
So I assume you're depending on associates to identify a treatment plan. So how do they transition from the general dentist modality
Yeah.
over to the more complex
Yeah.
side on the right side of the line?
So that's not exactly how I look at it. Okay. So number one, my experience has been that there's not enough right-sided dentistry within my practice to support me full time.
Mhm.
There's probably enough to support me half time.
Yeah.
So I do have to do some direct-to-consumer marketing to attract or ask for direct referrals from these patients to kind of fill up my bucket there. But well, let me back up. I want to slow down. I catch myself getting too emotional here. um, what I want to do is emphasize, in the past, I've tried to help associates see this and have the skills. And frankly speaking, my experience has been 90% of them don't have the ability, they don't have the desire, and frankly speaking, they don't have the ability to let their ego down to learn the skills that it takes to lead team members and patients down the path of right-sided dentistry.
Yeah.
I have found it easier to help my hygienists identify which patients need me to do the
Okay.
exams and which patients need the associates to do the exam. So we try to teach the hygienists to recognize the difference in left side and right side. And then when we have a right-sided patient, they can choose the best personality that fits that patient, or the best clinical skill set that fits that patient. And for the most part, it's been me in my practice. But now we are starting to transition some right-sided dentistry to some of our associates as well.
Tarun, I know you teach this to a lot
Mhm.
of other
Sure.
dentists, but would you not agree? The thing that I see as the biggest challenge, and quite admittedly, this was a, a big problem for me, is that the dentists who start these practices don't want to let go of things that other people are just so capable of.
Mhm.
You bring in associates and they do beautiful dentistry, but yet we want to micromanage that rather than saying, look, you're good at the general dentistry, take it.
Yeah.
I think half of the problem is dentists being willing to let go of what they don't need to micromanage.
So, boy, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
So number one, I say this with complete respect and love, and understanding that I was once in their shoes as well. Um, I will argue that most associates don't do beautiful dentistry. I will argue that they do board quality dentistry, which is average at best. Um, I think it's harder and harder today because we all live in a I'm trying to think of the right politically correct word to say because I know what I want to say. So we live in a world of fake book and Insta famous where we all brag about how much production we do and how fast we do it. And it comes at the expense of the quality of dentistry. And there's look, we can all say we do great dentistry, but the fact is we don't all do great dentistry. Um, and I look back at some of my dentistry from my first 3-4 years in practice, and I cringe at what I saw because I just didn't know any better. So I think
You're
there are. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that. I mean, there is no offense to that because
Mhm.
I would completely agree with what you're saying, and I think COVID created a whole new set of
Oh,
circumstances where new dentists were coming out with less clinical experience. But I think the differentiator is really the dentists that want to learn and want to get better and are willing
mm,
to be mentored, and we have to be willing, I think, as practice leaders and as business owners, to say, you know what, I'm going to mentor this person to do that general dentistry in the way that they want to do it, even if they're not there clinically yet. You know who the people are that want to do that kind of dentistry.
yeah,
Would you agree with that?
100%. Look,
Yeah.
it takes two to tango. You got to have somebody that wants to learn, and you got to have somebody that's willing to teach. And so it goes both ways. And look, here's the challenge. Okay, at least from my perspective, the challenge is they want to learn during the game, and the game is 8 to 5. Well, my office at 7 to 4, whatever time it is these days. Um, you know, I measure who's going to be successful by the effort they put in from 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. And so, if you want to be mentored in my office, you have to be mentored outside of working hours because during working hours, I'm working. And I don't know how to mentor you while I'm in the throes of doing what I do, and you're in the throes of doing what you do. And so I tell everybody that works with me that I'll give you as much of me as you want, but you won't get it from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Because I'm busy doing work. Now, if you want to come in there and watch me and pretend to see what you can't see, because no offense, if you're not assisting me, you can't see shit of what's going on in the mouth. All you can do is see me make it look easy, okay? And you can't see the nuances of all of those things. So it's a very difficult and slippery slope, this concept of mentoring and menteeing, and it is both people's fault. It is the ego of both people involved, and you've got to make the time. So in fact, like, we're onboarding our third dentist right now, and he's a full-time person. He's 5 days a week, and on Tuesdays his job is to just follow me wherever I go. When I do hygiene checks, when I do consults, he just follows me around. On Wednesday, he follows around our other associate partner so he can learn more about what she does. And I always say the clues are all around us. And somehow in dentistry, we just think our profession is so different that we have to do things differently. When you go to any fine restaurant, okay, and I don't mean expensive and fancy, I just mean a place that we all like to eat, not McDonald's, not Chick-fil-A, not any of those places. They have waiters in training or waitees. I don't know the right pronouns these days, but the waiters in training or servers in training, and they literally hire people and say, just follow me around for a couple of weeks and buy into the culture of what we have here. And too many of us, we hire a team member or we hire a dentist, and we just and I'm very guilty of this. We just throw them in to the deep end, and then we wonder why we don't get the results. And the clues are all around us, that if you want to build a practice on service, on a relationship and not transactional, then you have to bring your team members in a different way, and or you have to set aside meaningful time, not the lunch that everybody's running late to, and 15 minutes before lunch ends, they're thinking about their 1 o'clock patient. You got to set aside meaningful time to coach your team, and it's important. You can, God, what was it I heard today on a podcast I was listening to? One is not enough to get you to greatness, so you got to understand that it takes a team to get there, especially in today's world, especially in a world where we're trying to build a store within a store, especially in a world where we're trying to go from a practice to a business. You cannot get there alone. And you need people around you. You need cheerleaders, you need therapists, you need drugs, you need all kinds of stuff to get there. Or you need to decide that you're happy being good enough, and just live that life and stop looking on Insta famous and Facebook and trying to be something that you're not willing to put the work in for.
Tarun, you've given me 5 conversations that I would like to have you back and really get into more deeply. I so appreciate your candor. I know I speak for both Chad and JB when I say this, that it is really rare to see someone with your accolades and your experience be willing to admit their shortcomings, whatever they are, but also just be willing to talk about dentistry on a level that most people want to hear. And like I said, I already, I wrote down 5 conversations that I would like to have with you when we bring you back. So
just tell me when I'm there.
Hey, I do have a question though.
Yes, sir. I'd love questions.
Well, we're getting these pins made for dentists in the know. They're going to be circular. And what I was wondering is that at your next dental society meeting, if you'd wear our pin with a ribbon hanging from it.
I'll wear the pin. I'll draw the line at the ribbon.
Okay.
No, wait a minute. No. I'll tell you what. I'll draw the line at the sports coat with the suede elbow patch, and then additional patches all over it. Like at some point, we're going to be a NASCAR driver where we're going to have a patch right here, in our sweating area.
Brought to you by.
Yeah, JB,
the 80s have gone.
I know.
I did this at a meeting. JB, do you remember the meeting where I won't say what meeting it was, where I stole all of the little flags and literally it was hanging down to my knees because it was just exactly.
Well, that's why you have a girlfriend and a wife.
Yeah. I told everyone how well hung I was. Exactly.
I don't want to give anyone time to fact check that particular piece of information. I want no one to have time.
Yeah. All right. Sorry.
All right. Well, hey, T-Bone, thank you so much, man.
And thank you, guys and gal.
Great viewers, and it'll be up for a while, and we'll share it on YouTube, and we'd love to have you back. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you,
T-Bone, great to see you, buddy.
Good seeing everybody.
Okay.
Jennifer, good seeing you as well.
Right.
Take care.
Close us out.